my name is Tap, and this is how I write. Like, someone asked for feedback on their thing on a writing forum, and they said I could give that feedback live and on stream. It makes it kind of easier to like expound and explain the concepts and stuff a bit easier if I'm doing it live and just recording. And also other people can learn from it too. I also started a TAPwrites Twitter account. Yeah, I was into writing and helping other writers quite heavily for like 5 or 6 years, and then kind of dropped out of it. But recently I've got back into it, so I've just been streaming, helping people in this way every day. It's been kind of fun. Okay, here's like a short thing as well. So, yeah, this post gave me permission to check this out on the stream. Looking for suggestions, critique, and general advice over some dialogue I have. And that's in a Google Doc, so let's copy it out. After a couple of hours of walking, the armoured man stopped outside of a tavern. The Peaceful Pearl. He let out a short sigh before walking in. The interior was your standard affair. Nothing sticking out except for the complete lack of any patrons, save for one well-kept and elegantly dressed man who sat in a booth near the door. The armoured man walked over. The clanking of his footsteps flooded the silent tavern. He took a seat opposite the other man and cleared his throat. "Why'd you call me all the way out here, Flavius?" he said in an exasperated manner. "Well, my dear Hades, why else would I call for you?" he said with a broad smile as he pulled out a slip of paper. "I've got a job offer for you. The client came to me shortly after you left for that last job. And might I say, my dear Hades, he is paying a truly preposterous amount of gold for this." "Just how much is this guy paying?" Hades asked, as he leaned in closer to Flavius. 80,000, he exclaimed, barely being able to contain his excitement. "What exactly is the job?" "Ah yes, the job. Well, it's quite simple. Everything you need to know is on this paper," Flavius replied, as he put a small paper down in front of Hades. Hades picked up the paper and read over it several times. Letting out a long, exasperated sigh, he said, "Did this guy at least tell you what the girl is supposed to look like?" "Well, kind of. He told me you'd know it's her by the tail." "By the tail?" "Yes, that's what I was told at least." Without another word, Hades stood up and headed for the door. As he was about to open the door, Flavius spoke up from where he was sitting. "One more thing, Hades. The client suggested it would be wise to leave no witnesses." "I'll keep that in mind," he replied flatly, as he walked out the tavern. Cool. Nice simple little scene setting up the adventure or whatever. So, this is the first line, and as seems to happen fairly frequently, the first line has a lot of stuff going on. So after a couple of hours of walking, the armoured man stopped outside of a tavern. So what is currently happening is an armoured man is standing outside of a tavern, but then there's all this other stuff happening at the same time. So the main thing here was the armoured man stuck out because it didn't seem to have anything to do with walking and stopping walking. And also, armoured isn't that interesting of a thing, but some description of what, so that we can visualize it, would be good. Like it could be steel plate, like a knight or whatever. So ideally, you would have like a line describing the man and the armor. So we could start with the walking part and maybe using the clanking of his footsteps. So like Sound of clanking footsteps. Then describing the man that owns the footsteps. And then, yeah, and then like stopped outside of a tavern and looked up at the sign, sort of thing. So we don't actually get any description of what it looks like in there. It feels like it's a dodged question. So like, it your standard affair. What, I don't know what that looks like, but we're meant to know what that looks like. And this is a tavern, yeah. So description. Including empty tables. So maybe it's just like, maybe just start with the tables. Something like that. And then it still gets exactly the same idea of lack of any patrons. But we actually get to, the reader gets to visualize in their own heads what they're actually seeing and what the character is seeing. Maybe just, yeah. So I was going for like, the only one in the room was this guy, but what we could do is just say that he notices that what he notices, which is in a booth near the door, there's a well-kept and elegantly dressed man. Well-kept and elegantly dressed man. What does he actually do with a bit of paper? Okay, so he pulls out the paper, but later on he puts the paper down. Maybe he just does that now. And placed it on the table between them. That kind of stuff. I'd probably also change this because we're kind of told that they're well kept and elegantly dressed, but we don't see it. We're not shown it. So show that stuff. Instead of, so don't say that, but just show us what he actually looks like, and then from that we'll interpret that they are well kept and elegantly dressed because we see the elegant dress, sort of thing. Cool. He said in an exasperated manner, so he said it's fine. Exasperated manner. Again, that's kind of telling because how would you figure that out in real life? You'd hear a tone to it, or a gesture, or like a sigh or something. So maybe I'll just say like shaking his head. And then that shows he's kind of exasperated and how he feels about being called all the way out here without just telling us the emotion. Yeah, there's dialogue tags, so this line is quite long. I'm normally inclined to move dialogue tags to earlier in the dialogue as possible, so that it's clear who's speaking and how they're speaking and things. So maybe I'll do that and then move that there. There we go, and then just split the dialogue up a bit. And that works fine, just as well as it did before, but it's, yeah, like embedded better into the dialogue, I think. Oh yeah, so this is another bit of dialogue tag stuff. letting out a long exasperated sigh, he said. And you could do that and then have a comma, because this continues that sentence. Like he said isn't the end of that sentence. Just my own taste, that always seems weird to have he said in front of the dialogue. So what you could do is just say, let out a long exasperated sigh. You could just say sigh, because that, again, the reader interprets that it's exasperation, and then it kind of immerses them better in reading this character as they would read the expression of someone in life. So just say, let out a long sigh, and then the dialogue, that's fine. Oh man, walked over. Yeah, so while that is happening, normally this would be like in present tense. So instead of flooded, it would be flooding. So he walked over, and while in the present tense of the walking action, that is also happening. And so it normally feels right to have that be present tense as well. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm getting like there's some sort of thing going on here. So this is one way of putting it. Hades asked as he leaned in closer to Flavius. But there are other like ways of doing that same thing. One would be to put it here. So Hades leaned in closer to Flavius. Just how much is this guy paying? And you don't even need that because you know it's Hades. Or you can do as we did further up. Hades asked leaning. So instead of like one action happening as another action is happening, as it's all the same person doing the same action, then you can do this kind of present tense trick instead. I kind of like this formation because you get to know who's speaking, and the leaning in closer gives a vibe to how they're saying this kind of conspiratorially. So I'd probably go with that as a personal choice. Yeah, so I think that's all for that, like the edit of that. Again, it's like a cool little scene and stuff. If you'd like your writing to be edited live on stream, or to get feedback, or for me to discuss a writing topic, let me know in the DMs or in a comment, or you can reach me at twitter.com/TAPwrites. And yeah, I'll see you next time.